Our next guest is actually heading to Ukraine later today as part of Canada's delegation that Hannah was talking about. Conservative MP James Bezan joins us from Ottawa with more on the crisis. So James Bezan, as you get ready to head off to Ukraine, we have been seeing today new protests, very dramatic images, tensions raging in Crimea. How concerned are you that this could be the next flashpoint in the country's crisis?
Well, I think we're all concerned about the continued instability that we're seeing in Ukraine. We're starting to see, things settle down in most of the country, but definitely what we're experiencing in Crimea right now is a little bit disheartening. But I think we need to continue to reach out to everyone across Ukraine, regardless of their ethnicity, and let them know that Canada in particular, but the world stands with a united Ukraine, an independent Ukraine, and that we're going to work collaboratively together with all of our partners and all of our allies to ensure that the prosperity and future for Ukraine is bright.
Having said that, of course, what we're watching with these protests in Crimea, we are seeing tensions really exploding there. And we're also hearing today Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered an urgent drill of combat readiness of his country's troops just across the border from Ukraine. How ominous is that?
Well, it's definitely not helpful. We expect Russia and all of our partners in the region to respect Ukraine's independence, its borders, and its right to self-determination. So that's what this mission is about, that Prime Minister Harper announced yesterday. It's allowing us to get in there, to assess the situation, to talk to all players, including those that were involved in organizing the Euromaidan protests, as well as this new transitional government, which will be, we're anticipating will be announced tomorrow. So we'll be one of the first countries to be able to sit down with the new government and the acting president to talk about Ukraine's needs and how everyone can work together to bring about a brighter and better future. Now, that being said, there is a lot of things at play. There's still some instability that we're seeing in Crimea. We're still concerned about the high levels of corruption that not only are being experienced within government, but also overall in the economy through the oligarchs. And at the same time, there is this whole issue of governance, their judicial system, and of course, as we move towards the May 25th elections, how we make sure that the election is properly run, that all the international players are there to monitor it, and to help them with that transition back into a peaceful democracy.
So just so I'm clear, it sounds like you'll be spending a lot of time in Kiev. You'll be talking to the political players, some of the protesters who have brought about the ouster of Viktor Yanukovych, and also those who are trying to build an interim government. But what about the voices, certainly the voices that we're hearing very loudly in Crimea and elsewhere, the people who feel their ties are much stronger with Russia? Will you make the effort to reach out to some of those constituencies as well?
For sure, and we only are there for a set period of time, and of course not everything is locked up in our agenda, and we're assessing all the important groups and individuals and civil society that we need to be talking to outside of the transitional government that's going to be put in place, and really start mapping out a way forward to get past the instability and talk more about how we go towards a great future.
So I know, as you say, your time is limited, but will there be an opportunity to get outside of Kiev?
Yeah, and that's something that's being assessed as we speak.
So I know in a statement you have mentioned all options to solve the crisis are on the table. Might that option even be redrawing the map of Ukraine? Might that be a viable solution?
We are talking about a united Ukraine and respecting the way Ukraine is today. And I think that any of those other hypotheticals is we don't even need to go down that path right now. We're seeing some heated protests happening in certain regions, but I don't think that even starts beginning to have this hypothetical discussion about splitting up the country. What we want to see is Ukraine united I think that Ukrainians want to see united Ukraine. You got to remember that the Ukrainian-speaking, the Russian-speaking Ukrainians were all involved in the Euromaidan because of the high level of corruption that Yanukovych represented, because of the brutality and the way that he was treating the protesters. When he started murdering their children on the streets, when he started bringing riot squads and snipers and shooting these peaceful protesters, that was what actually united the country against Yanukovych, and that people power is what absolutely brought about his demise.
And obviously Canada and other countries want to support Ukraine in its economic and financial transition. So what is Canada suggesting regarding the role of the IMF and the kind of help it can play in financial support of Ukraine?
Well, as Hannah said earlier, Prime Minister Harper was in conversations with Prime Minister David Cameron of the United Kingdom. He's also been talking to other world leaders. Minister Baird has been in active engagement with all foreign affairs ministers in the region, especially in Poland and Germany and the European Union with Catherine Ashton. And it is something that they're talking about is what role the IMF will play, what type of packages are needed to stabilize the country's economy,
stabilize the currency. I guess what I'm asking you, Mr. Bezan, what role should the IMF play?
And I think at this point in time, it's too premature, again, to say exactly what that role will be.
Okay.
And that is what this trip is about. This is what other countries are assessing right now. And then Canada, along with our allies and like-minded nations, will form a strategy that's in the best interest of Ukraine. Our meetings with the transitional government on Friday and with the acting president will help shape that policy discussion.
So looking to the elections now planned for late May, can Canada play a supportive role, perhaps send observers to watch this process, make sure these elections are free and fair, and the results will be honored?
As we have seen in the past, Canada has always been there. Sending our largest election observation missions have always been to Ukraine. I've been on a couple of those missions, and there's been Canadians right across this country that have participated in the past.
Right.
And I suspect that we'll see the same type of support and engagement from Canada through CanDem, which is the Canadian Democracy Organization that is funded through the Canadian International Development Agency.
James Bezan, we'll let you go, but appreciate you making time for us today.
Anytime, Nancy.
Thank you.